Howdy. Hi, guys. Sorry if the audio is hot. I don't know how to fix that. I don't know why. Some songs are just louder than others. And yeah, sorry about that. Well, guys, thank you for being here. Please hit the like button on whatever platform you are watching on. And let's talk about some good stuff tonight. I know that the world is very crazy right now. It has been crazy for a very long time. That's really nothing new, except that it becomes newly crazy every single day. It seems like we get a new level of crazy. And it's just like barely hanging on, right? That's how most of us feel. And I have no idea what to tell you about what is going on in the world other than it is wild. But at the same time, I feel very confident that we have this, that we've reached a turning point, and I have no idea when exactly we're going to see things really start to shift. I mean, other than we are, right? We are seeing things shift in some ways, but we're also seeing them get crazier in some ways. And it is, I think, ultimately heading in the right direction, because even the things that appear to be heading in the wrong direction are serving an important purpose. They're waking people up. They are, the catalysts for people to now have to make the choice between light and dark, right and wrong. And we had a very sleepy population for a very long time. And so the ugliness, the turmoil is actually the cause of the Great Awakening. It is the cause of our human revolution. It is the cause of everything good. Okay, so we're reading for my book club The Alchemist, right? So we're not going to go really into The Alchemist tonight, but a couple things that I wanted to bring up about it. For those of you in the book club, I figured out the Rumble thing, so I'll be able to, hi, Duppy. Good to see you. I'll be able to go stream back to back on Rumble, so we won't have the problem that we had last time. So that's going to be on August 4th. We're going to do this discussion of The Alchemist. If you have not yet read The Alchemist, highly suggest it. It is a very quick read. You could have it done depending on how much you read per day, you could have it done in a couple of days. And it's just funny because, I reread it just this last week, and it is so in line with Buddhism and all of the things that I kind of grew up believing. And obviously I feel very called to talk about these things, but it's not because I want to convert anybody and, make them my religion. It's more about the philosophy of it and how much it has helped me in my life. And I would almost feel, oh, Becky Lou, hi. You ordered it on eBay. Might have to listen to it on audiobook. I have to embroider my cousin a towel for her wedding, and that takes forever. I still have the tea towel that you made me hanging on my oven, and I love it. And it always gets, Becky made me a tea towel with a frog on it that says Kofefe, and it's really cute. And it's so kitschy and cute, and it just is perfect. And it like makes people do a double take in my kitchen. Anyway, where was I? So we were talking about something. Oh, basically this is just a philosophy that has helped me in my life, and that I don't know, maybe there's someone out there that it will help too. So I always feel selfish if I don't share things that I find that help me. That was what the whole Clean Living Project was about. That is what the Kate Awakening has been about. And that is what now this show is about. So just philosophies that we can kind of ponder, consider, things that might help us. What is philosophy for? Philosophy is for making sense of the world and learning how to navigate it and to be a good human being and to be happy. So I know a lot of people just feel like the suffering is the point, right? Okay, we're here to suffer. And I've been through that, philosophy in my life too, of just like, okay, life is suffering. And it certainly is. And I don't want to make it sound like the philosophy that I have stops me from having obstacles in my life or even having pain. Obviously, that's not the case. Obviously. But it does help me in so many ways, and it really is such a cool thing. I have a lot of goofy stories for you tonight that I kind of just want to go into about how it works and what I've seen it do both in my life and in other people's lives. And it is, for the longest time, I practiced this philosophy without really knowing anything about it other than, I knew some things here and there and I knew that it worked because I grew up with it and I used it. And so it was almost a joke because, we chant and we chant for things that we want, and we're told to be as specific as possible so that when they come along, you did it. There's something in the Alchemist. So I have my little, and I have my little Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. That's what we chant, by the way. Okay, so I literally could highlight this entire book. I sat here with my highlighter. In fact, about a third of it, I was out by my pool reading this, and I forgot to bring my highlighter out there. So I'm gonna have to reread that because I want to like highlight all the things so that we can talk about them. But I do have a bunch of this book highlighted. But one of the things that it talks about is that, or here's a quote from it: when a person really desires something, all the universe conspires to help that person to realize his dream. And it doesn't really feel that way, right? Because a lot we have tons of desires. I mean, we are desire. We desire things all day long. And do we look around and think, oh yes, well, I desire it, so the universe shall bring it to me? No, it feels like the opposite of that most of the time. So true patriot warrior, it's a frog and a turtle because sometimes the Great Awakening feels like it's taking a long time. It's so true. So I don't really know what it is with my Rumble. When I first made my Rumble channel, or when I first started my Rumble, I didn't know that I had to make a channel. So everyone followed me, like followed my profile, but nobody was subscribed to my channel. And then like a year into it, I realized I don't have a channel. So then I made a channel, and so there are some subscribers on my channel. I don't know what the difference is, and whatever. But if you're watching me right now, this is me, and you can click subscribe, I think, underneath the whatever it is. You can hit subscribe, and hopefully this is me. I don't know. I haven't checked anything else. Anyway, so the universe does conspire for us. The universe is extremely sympathetic, and we don't realize that we don't really realize what we're putting out. We don't really realize what we're asking for. We don't realize what we're asking the universe for, because you tell us, you ask us, what is it that you want? We'll say to you, well, I want this and I want that and I want this other thing. But do we live that way? Do we exude those things from our essence when we live our daily life? Or do we live in a state of complaining and not feeling good enough, not feeling powerful enough, wanting to give up? That's another thing too, is that, and that is the alchemist, and that is Buddhism, and that is Trump, by the way. Never, ever, ever give up. If you are working towards something, see it through. That has been a very big challenge in my life. I have come up close with, my mom laughs at me because of all the opportunities that just land on my lap and have my entire life, and I don't know why. Like, oh, you want, it, like, it's nuts. But many of them I didn't follow through on, and ultimately it ended up being for the best. There are things that, for example, a long time ago, maybe like 2000, I don't know, around 2008 or something, I had 2 different production companies approach me out of nowhere One of them was Peacock Productions, production, they make all of the Real Housewives and I don't even know, whatever. Anyway, like it's a big one. It's not like it's NBC and it's whatever. So approached me about making a reality show based around me. And both of them were like, yeah, you can come up with what you want it to be. One of them was smaller and one of them was Peacock. And you can make up what it, you can tell us what you want the premise to be and, all of that stuff. And at the time, I was so into reality TV. I was glued to it and I was just like, sick in the head over it. And something made me not go through with it. And like other people, it sounds very lame, especially now looking back on how terrible that is, right? But again, like I feel like I was saved from that. Yeah, is it possible I could have made it out alive? Is it possible I could have done that without, looking like an asshole? I guess, but I don't really know many people that do. I don't know if I know any people that do. It's kind of like the point, right? You get completely exploited, and even if you're a character that people are rooting for, I don't know, it always just turns dirty. And so, I never pushed through on stuff like that, but that was the kind of stuff that my mom would say to me, like, that does not happen to people. And I was just kind of, I don't know, dicking around my whole life, never really like, okay, yes, this is the thing. I mean, up until this, right? Up until finding the Great Awakening. And I kind of feel like it was that there was always this thing that I was meant to do, or this feeling like a feeling like there was this thing that I was meant to do, but I didn't know what it was. And I felt like it was kind of this in this direction. And then I'd be like, get really close. And then I'd be like, no. And then I'd feel like it was in this direction. And then I'd get really close and I'd be like, no. And the thing is that I think what I was meant to do didn't exist yet. What we do right now wasn't really a thing. And it is kind of funny. And so then like, obviously I started taking the steps, in fact, taking the steps kind of despite myself, feeling like, embarrassed, I guess, of what it was I was doing, but doing it anyway and just kind of feeling propelled from the back. And really what that feeling was a mission. It wasn't like, I think I'm going to go be a YouTuber now. It was, holy crap, human beings are suffering. Our world is in a state of absolute craziness where people just hate each other and they're pitted against each other and they don't even understand. They don't even really know why they hate each other. It's all an illusion. And I'm just like, I have got to help. I've got to help. And so I feel like we come here kind of with two missions. I feel like we've got external missions and we also have the internal mission, which is to leave this world better than we came into it. But there's also no doubt when I look back on my life and kind of all of these crazy things that I have been protected every step of the way. And which is crazy to think about because I've had some very close calls, I guess, with some very bad things and somehow made it out alive, not because I was smart enough to get myself out of it, just like sheer freaking luck, I guess. But I don't believe in luck. I believe in fortune, and I believe in creating our own fortune. I believe our fortune comes from our own karma, both in this lifetime and in others, and that we can do things here that will change the trajectory, right, of our life. The karma that we have, we don't have to wait for it to land on our head. We can, for me, it's this practice, but it's also part of the practice is making the good causes going forward. And both the practice and the causes are the seeds that you plant. And yes, you don't see them right away. Wouldn't that be so nice? Just like a seed, when you plant it, it will grow when the season and the conditions are right. And, that kind of goes back to the universe is sympathetic to us. The universe wants life. It veers towards life. It veers towards happiness, but we are our own worst enemy in so many ways. And we create all kinds of bad causes, greed, stupidity, anger. All of these are really the source of all of our misery when it comes down to it, because every time we put those things out there, it's the negativity that comes back to us. It's what we've done, and that's very hard for some people to swallow, because it feels like you're being punished, and it feels like it's very unfair, and it feels like okay, am I responsible for something some idiot did 12 lifetimes ago or whatever. But it's really very empowering when you do have it in your hands to make the causes, to turn your life around, to make it better. And um, the universe also has a wild sense of humor. It's in The Alchemist as well. Pig Iron Patriot, good to be alive, thanks to Jesus. God has got the whole world in his hands. Becky Luhu says, you got the reality show anyway, but on your own terms on Rumble. I like the way it turned out. I never watched the big network reality TV. It's a good point, because I am putting myself out there. I am, I guess, satiating the desire to be looked at. I guess I was like, I guess there was something in me that wanted to put myself out there publicly, because I can, that's not everybody's cup of tea. Thank God. It would be very weird. And it's weird just with the few of us that do this, but it just is what it is. I grew up putting myself out there, and I am comfortable doing it, I guess. And it is one of the biggest fears in the world is public speaking, like above death. People fear public speaking above death. And so, and a lot of the people that do gravitate towards this, there's a reason why some people gravitate towards this. And it's not always good, right? And also, even if people start off well and they start off with good reasoning, it is very easy once somebody gets any kind of anything to. I wrote about this in my last Substack about the world of animality, and that people can start off benevolent and they're mission driven and everything's great because it's easy come, easy go. But then the second something else is created through that, right? Whether it's money or power or influence or one of these things, then all of a sudden there's this other thing now to protect. Like, if you can't just continually look at it as, okay, easy come, easy go. I can't tell you, I had my YouTube taken away. I had my Twitter taken away when I had a considerable amount of followers. It was just like all right, just rebuild. All right, we'll move on to this one now. Now we'll start on Telegram. Now we'll do this. Now we'll do that. It was just like constantly, if I didn't feel that way, I would have stopped. I would have given up. But it wasn't about it was just like, okay, we just got to keep going. But it is whatever it is that you feel called to do, you got to just make sure that you maintain your eye on the prize of what that is and not forget that. Because it's great if you can also take your mission and make a living at it, and you can take your mission and you can build it into something incredible. But it is very easy to get tempted by, all of the other things, right? Those constant cravings that we have in life there's this feeling of lack, and we've got to hold on to our money, and we've got to hold on to our influence, and we've got to hold on to power. And so that tends to be what people get caught up in. And I likened it to my dog Archie, because Archie is like, you could do whatever to Archie. You could pick him up, you could rub his belly, you could, mess with his eyebrows and his little mustache. But the second he has something, a toy or a bone or a piece of food, he's freaking Cujo. Like, you sit down on the couch next to him and it's like, Rrr! And like, if you even touch him, he'll like snap at you. He's got to get fixed. But you hear that, Archie? Anyway. But that is the world of animality. It is the world of eat or be eaten. It is the protection of something. And what does that come from? It comes from fear. It comes from the fear of now losing the thing that you've grown the attachment to. If you didn't have the money, you didn't have an attachment to it. Now all of a sudden you have the money, and it's like, oh no, you start looking around the room like, who's looking at my money? Who wants to take this? And it can do messed up to things to people's brains. So h- real AF patriot, hello. Suffering makes us stronger, as sucky as it is, because the suck never lasts. And then you're left feeling like a badass for getting through all of the suck. I guess. No, it's true. You're right. And thank you very much. Yeah, so it's about transmuting. Well, so what is an alchemist? I'm just going to keep using my visual aid because it's orange and yellow, and I like orange and yellow. Okay. Um, what is an alchemist? An alchemist is somebody who can transmute things, right? They change lead into gold, and they make concoctions, elixirs, and things like that. And but alchemy is just about transmuting. It's about taking one thing and turning it into another. And if we look at evil like, oh my God, evil is evil and we don't stand a chance, then it's going to be a lot harder for us. But if we can look at evil as, okay, yes, this is the thing that comes into my life that is giving me the opportunity now to rise up to the challenge, and thinking of it as if you wouldn't be going through it if you didn't already sign up for it. Like, you intentionally put it in your life saying, I'm going to go through this lifetime, and I am going to absolutely kick its ass. And I'm going to look back on this life and I'm going to be like, oh my gosh, yes, I kicked evil's ass. I kicked darkness's ass. One of the things that was so annoying / adorable / very, very annoying that still happens to this day in the Buddhist organization that I belong to is, you go for guidance sometimes. And the guidance is just, it's just other people, but it's other people that have been practicing for a long time and they've got experiences. Isn't that just what we all do as human beings? It's not going to the chosen one to say, give me the prophecy, hand down the word of God to me so that I can, know what to do next. It's literally just a human being who's like, oh man, I've been through some shit too. And I'm going to tell you, this is how I did it. So, you'd go get guidance and you're this big soppy mess. And the first thing they always say to you, as bad as things are, congratulations. And you're like, I'm going to deck you. But it's like, and it was like the old Japanese people, oh, congratulations. And they're so sweet and they're so uplifting and they're so amazing. But there's still that part of you that's like, lady, suck it, right? Do you see me right now? I am in the world of hell. I am crying. I am just I, the worst thing in the world is happening to me right now. And you're telling me congratulations. Well, the reason they say congratulations is because you put it there. You put it there to challenge yourself to level up. And that means that you have a huge level up coming. No matter what you're going through, no matter what you're suffering, no matter what you're desiring and not getting, no matter what pain you're feeling, how bad you're hurting, it is there to transmute, and you can do it. And I know you can do it because I can do it. I've watched other people do it, and it is it is incredibly uh it's incredibly powerful, but it's also very hard to put your trust into anything like that. We just want to give up, and we want to put it in somebody else's hands, and we want to say, fix this for us, or I give up, or whatever. And that's why I say it all comes down to, some things come easily, some things do not. And if you give up, you lost. That's it. That's the only time you lose. Otherwise, if you keep going, the universe will respond. The universe responds to all of us, in our lives, in just the environment, and responds to our thoughts and our actions and whatever we're doing. And it has a ripple effect. And so, I grew up in this organization. I love all the gifts on Pilled. And they are very distracting. Um, yeah. So Pig Iron Patriot says, "Do the hard things that others are unwilling to do." Yeah. I mean, absolutely. I mean, isn't that what being a hero is? There are lots of good people on the planet, right? But very few heroes, and that's what a hero is to me. A hero is the person that will do the hard things that others are unwilling to do. Most people will sit there and not create any harm, and that's great because if everybody did that, the world would be a much different place, wouldn't it? If everybody just took care of themselves and their families and did no harm to anybody else, it would be awesome. That would be enough. But unfortunately, there are people who do harm. And so we do need heroes sometimes. And sometimes we need to be our own heroes. And I have a really hard time with that. I have you know, I can be there for other people and I can be strong for other people, but I have a really hard time for whatever reason standing up for myself. And it just is what it is. I internalize everything. I might have taken things a little too far because I internalize whatever terrible thing is happening to me and I never really get angry. I get sad and I just sit there and I'm like, I just feel the suffering and I'm like, okay, I'm going to take the lesson no matter what somebody does to me. Okay, what could I have done differently, which is good to do. But sometimes you have to move through the phases of grief. But anyway, so I grew up with the practice. And like I said, you were always told to be very specific when you chanted. And so I would, and because I was young, I was a brat about it. And I would get these things in my life that were just so incredibly specific that people were just like, what the heck? But I noticed I have, now I know a lot of Buddhists and I know a lot of different people that practice. And I can see the variations between, and it's kind of the universe responding because I expected it to be very specific and kind of funny when I got the thing. That's always what I experienced. But there are some people that they will, chant for things and it's lovely and it's wonderful, but it's not as specific or whatever. And I almost think that it's because it just depends on what it is that you're expecting. And then the universe just kind of like provides it in that way in your own little brand, your own little flavor. And so I like the flavor because it's, who doesn't love synchronicities and all those weird little things, all the little symbols and signs and, God has a sense of humor. I love that kind of stuff. I live for it all day long, all day long. So it would make sense that those are the kinds of experiences that I would get. Oh, good. I'm glad you've just finished reading The Alchemist. You know what, true Patriot Warrior? I prefer the easy, lazy things as well. But you know what? There's not a lot of benefit in that. There isn't a lot of real happiness that comes from that. It would turn out, unfortunately. What's funny? So I finished it the other night, and there's that. I'm not going to give anything away that's detrimental to whatever, but there's that sandstorm at the end. And I closed the book and I put it down. I was in bed and this massive sandstorm just like comes through and blows everything out of my backyard. I had the cushion for my chaise lounge was like up on the other side of the yard on the fence on the wall. And it was just like, oh my gosh, I'm living in The Alchemist right now. And it was a synchronicity, right? It was just a funny little nod from the universe. But oh, Becky Luhu says, if you see something that needs to be done, do it. I could not shake that message when my grandmother needed home care. I had a comfortable life. I'm so thankful that I did. That is beautiful. And absolutely, that's doing for others and rising to that occasion. It's daunting, right? It's scary to take care of somebody else. But it is one of the most beautiful challenges that you're gonna get in life. It's one of the most beautiful opportunities that you're gonna get in life is to take care of another human being. You will not regret that ever in your life. But so I would get all these like funny things, and I always tell this one experience of my mother's because it's just a very good. It's just one of the more cosmic kind of funny situations. Country Girl 007 says, Christians give it to the Lord. He carries us when we think we are alone. I mean, so I have felt carried before. I definitely feel the love of God. I definitely feel the support of God, but I also feel happier when I carry myself. Does that make sense? Like, there are times that I think I literally can't carry myself, but then I do, like I always do somehow. And it might be messy and it might be ugly and it might be, I might mess it up 19 times first and then get it right or whatever. But um I think God wants us to be powerful. I think God wants us to do what we can with this life to the best of our ability and to be strong and to be courageous and to transmute all, darkness and to rise to the occasion of our obstacles and kick their butt um and keep leveling up like that, if that makes sense. So anyway, uh my mom had this thing. Okay, so because it was like a fad religion in Hollywood in like the 80s and 90s, and because part of it is they'll tell you, okay, chant for 30 days and you'll get whatever, that's also in The Alchemist is the beginner's luck, right? I forgot what they call it. They call it like I have it highlighted in here. It's basically beginner's luck, right? But it's not luck, it's fortune. But it's basically the universe saying, like, okay, yes, you're started on this path. I'm going to show you, I'm going to give you a sign that you're on the right path. I think when we are on the right path, we get all kinds of signs, right? That's how it's felt. That's been my experience. And I've bonded with a lot of different people that say the same thing, that they get all these signs once they are doing finally on that path that feels right. So we get that beginner's luck and we get the thing. Well, it's a very, what's the word I'm looking for? Superficial world, I guess, Hollywood, not to put, not to be so broad, but anybody that lived there could tell you it's pretty superficial. So there are people chanting for superficial things, and most religions will be like, no, 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 that's not okay. You can't chant for that. But Buddhism is kind of, everything is being transmuted. That means we're not here to like we're human beings, and we're gonna want things that are stupid to want. We're gonna want things like, yeah, we should all just be out there chanting for world peace and to end hunger, of course, right? But is that everything that you want? No, right? You want other things as well. I want world peace and I want to end world hunger, but I also want, I don't know, things and stuff and experiences and relationships and happiness and all of those, whatever. And so to different people, it's different things. But the entire point of it is that we learn by every experience, not just by not getting what we want, but we also learn by getting what we want, by getting the things that we want and then saying to ourselves, like, oh, I thought this was going to make me happy, but now I realize, like, yeah, it was nice, but there are other things that I want. I've mentioned before, I've talked about how we always feel like happiness is just out of reach. There's just that one thing. If I could just have this one thing, if I could just get the raise, if I could just get that job, if I could just get that boyfriend or girlfriend or husband or wife, if I could just get that apartment or house or that car or the whatever, just out of reach. And then we get the car, and then we get the apartment, and then we get the job. And then like every step of the way, it's like happiness for a while. And then what happens? You want other things. So that is what is called, that's part of the 10 worlds. That is us being, our happiness being subjective, and it's being delegated by our circumstances. It's being, it's being affected by our circumstances. And the whole point is to get to to a place where you are not affected by those circumstances. So in the meantime, you could be very much a human being, and it's okay to be a human being, and there's no judgment for being a human being, and you can actually chant for some really awful stuff. And I'm going to tell you some experiences about chanting for probably the worst thing that you could chant for in life, that is going to will make people cringe, and I'm going to explain why it's actually okay, and why and why it's not, because it's not magic, it's not black magic, it's not hocus pocus. You're not like putting your dirty thoughts out there and creating dirty things for in other people's lives. You can do no harm with it. So even if you're chanting for harm, literally, I know people who have chanted for other people to die. Did those people die? No, they did not. But the stories are actually much, much more profound, and they were incredible life lessons for these people. But I'm going to start off with my mom's goofy story, which again starts off which was for a very superficial thing, right? Kind of based on not a superficial thing. My brother, she wanted my brother to start chanting. My brother was a teenager, and my mom was practicing, and she was seeing all of this wonderful stuff that people were able to bring into their lives, and she wanted it for my brother. My brother was like very hesitant or whatever. Well, she was like, well, the hook, right? The hook is chant for what you want, and you'll get it, and what he wanted was a car. So my mom said, what she had been told, which was be as specific as possible. And he was like, oh, I don't know. Well, I want like an older car. She said, no, be really, really specific. Like, what do you like? Be as specific as possible. Like, be obnoxiously specific. And he's like, okay, well, I forgot what he said, like 1964 Jaguar XKE. And my mom was like, okay, what color? He's like, I don't know, either gray or yellow and with brown leather interior. So my mom's like, okay. And, now she's starting to sweat, because now she's told him, like, if you chant for that, you'll get it. She's also sweating because my dad, we always had like parts of cars. we had like a lot of cars in the yard, and my dad was always like taking parts from one and putting them in another, and he was always out in the yard, and he was like working on all these like not junky, there were some nice ones, but always in pieces and whatever. My dad liked working on cars. That was his hobby. And he had specifically told my mother at one point that he hated Jaguars. He was like, I hate them. They break down all of the time. The engines are like, something about the engines are really small. I can't get my hands into them. So I can't ever work on a Jaguar, and just like a million things. Like, no, absolutely not. You're not going to get a, this was before my brother had said that, I think, even like so my mom already knew, like, oh shit, your dad hates Jaguars. Like, how am I going to do this? And so, she tells my brother, just chant for it. So she goes and she gets guidance, and she's like, well, I could just tell my husband, like, we need to do this. We need to get him this car. And they said, no, is that, no, make him like chant, tell him to chant for it. That's you're cheating. So my mom, made him chant. And she was just like, I have no idea how this is ever going to happen. And that's another thing too, is that you don't have to believe in it in order for it to work. I know a lot of people that started off chanting in order to disprove it, to show that it specifically did not work, and then ended up getting the thing that they were chanting for, and they were like, huh. So chanting, nothing's happening. And my brother, True Patriot Wars, is really unreliable British POS cars, but look pretty cool. They do look really cool. So anyway, my dad comes home, and he's got a surprise for my mom. And it's a car. And it's a new Buick. So my mom's like, okay, well, I guess that's a benefit, right? We got a new car. Like, how can you turn your nose up at a new car? It's not what my brother wanted. And I think like she was going to be able to give her old car to him or something. I don't really remember, but she's like, but it's not what he asked for. And it's, he was very specific. So she goes back to get guidance again. And she said, is this, is this what it was supposed to be? And, should I just take this as the win? And they said, well, was that what he was chanting for? And she said, no. And they said, well, then you've got your answer. And she was like, okay, really confused. There's no freaking way my dad's going to get now another car on top of it. So she's like, what's going on? Then my mom has the car for like a week, and she gets, I don't remember if it was a head-on collision or if she got T-boned, but this woman hit her and completely totaled the new car. So they take that car in, the brand new Buick, and they get it like fixed and drive it back, or I don't remember. I'm really bad with this story. I wish my mom was here to tell it. But anyway, they take it to the dealer or whatever. The dealer buys it off of them and says, but I need to go test drive it first. And they were like, okay, and kind of like sweating because it doesn't run very well because it's been in this really bad accident. But while he's sitting there, he gets a phone call and he's like, you know what? It's fine. Do the paperwork. And he doesn't end up test driving it. Well, he ends up calling them like a couple days later and telling them that after they left, he drove it off the lot. And the second he drove it off the lot, the engine dropped or something like that. It was just like a lost cause. So he was like, you guys got off, like, I just wanted to let you know, you really, you kind of got away with murder there, but it just was what it was. But as they pulled out, my dad's driving my mom in her car or in his car, and there was traffic because it's LA. So it's traffic on the road that they're on. And so he turns down this one street, and my mom's got her head down. She's going through her purse, and all of a sudden she feels him pull like this hard right. And she looks up and she's like, what are we doing? And he had pulled into the lot of this old classic cars dealership with, it's got the building with the big window in the front. And sitting in the front are two 19, whatever it was, Jaguar XKEs, a gray one and a yellow one. And my mom was like, what are we doing here? And my dad was like, it's the weirdest thing. I've been hearing so much from all of these people. First of all, my dad doesn't have any friends. He doesn't talk to anybody. That's like one of the funniest things about this story. I keep hearing from people that the Jaguars are going to appreciate a lot. They're going to go up in value. And my mom's like, seriously? And so anyway, long story short, I think he ended up buying both of them. He bought the yellow one and the gray one. So that's a ridiculous story, right? And they both had brown leather interior. That is a ridiculous story. And I am telling you that throughout my life, I have seen things like that happen over and over and over and over again. And so to me, that's why I was doing the practice, greedy little grubby girl. Like, I just want the things. I'm just going to chant every time I want something, and I would get it. And it would be specific. I remember chanting one time. I got into a fight with my high school boyfriend, and I just wanted him to call me, but like, he was very, very stubborn, and I didn't, there's no way he was going to call me. I always, I had to be the one to call him if we were in a fight. And I was just like, he's got to call me. He's got to call me. And my phone rings and it's him, and he's like, hi. I'm like, hi. He's like, I don't even know why I'm calling you right now. I'm like, I do, just dumb stuff like that. But, it always ended up being better than the thing. Like, you always get either exactly what you want, or you get something better that you don't even know that is going to be better. We think that we know what's going to make us happy. And God's like, you think so? And that's why sometimes we're focused over here, and we're like, okay, this is where happiness is. This is where I need to go. And you start getting ripped in the other direction. And you'll be beside yourself. Then you'll be unhappy. You'll be suffering because you're like, oh my gosh, I'm just getting further and further away. Happiness is over there. And then things will happen in your life where you're just like, all of a sudden, this ends up being way better than that ever could have been. I mean, think about relationships that you've been in that you're like, oh God, I dodged a bullet there. But like, at the time, you're like, this is the person for me forever and ever. And then you're sad when it's over. And then all of a sudden, like, the real person comes along, and you're just like, oh my gosh, thank God that didn't work out. So that's like a an example that I think most of us, a lot of us have been through, probably time and time again in life. And so we can all kind of relate to that. But in Buddhism, there's a lot of that, and it's very extreme because you are kind of getting what you want. And I wanted to talk about the people who were chanting for other people to die, because these are really, really interesting stories. Both of them were spouses chanting for their spouses to die. So one of them was a husband who was chanting for his wife to die. And there were, he went for guidance, and he's like, I cannot see my life. Like, she's got to die. Like, that's the only, he was one of those people that was there to prove it wrong. He was there in anger. He was there in, yeah, whatever. I'll try it. I'll show you. And I'm going to chant for the worst thing I can possibly think of, and, screw everybody. And so he was, telling them, well, I'm going to chant for her to die then, because that's the only thing that will make me happy. And whoever was leading the meeting or whatever, giving him the guidance, was like, yeah, that's fine. And people were horrified. The newer members were like, what? No, that's awful. Like, we're supposed to be here to be better people. And they said, if that is what he is desiring, then let him chant for it. Keep in mind, like I said, it's not black magic. Everybody has their own karma. You will never create karma in somebody else's life. You will never chant for something horrible to happen to somebody and make something horrible happen to somebody else. Everything happens in people's own karma, but that it's kind of like this incredible symphony where things will come together, and it's about growth. If you keep chanting, you'll keep growing. You're not going to be chanting and go down a bad path and then be like, okay, well, now I'm an evil person that is going to, wish all of my enemies to the cornfield. So what ended up happening was, while he was chanting and kind of going through this process of just like hating her and sitting down every day to chant for her, he started to feel appreciation for her. And then he ended up falling in love with her again, and literally like brought her to meetings and was like, this is the woman that I wanted to die. And like, I'm head over heels in love with her now. And our relationship is stronger than ever. And it was like this incredible thing. The other way, the other story that was about a spouse chanting for their spouse to die was a woman, actually. This is a really interesting story, but she was chanting about her husband dying because he was abusive. And he was also very connected and powerful. And she was afraid of him. And he would say to her, if you ever leave me, I'll get the kids, and I'll take every penny, and you will never see any of us ever again. And so she felt very stuck, and she didn't see any other way out. And so they were saying, well, like, what do you want? What do you want to happen? And like, what do you say to a person in that situation? Just like all of us, when we are in our own world of hell and we can't see a light at the end of the tunnel, we can't even see the possibility of things being okay, because we can't fathom what the universe knows. We can't fathom what God knows. We can't fathom all kinds of things that can come together, because we only have these little pea brains that know what we know, right? We don't have all the information. We actually have very little information. So when we sit there and we think, no, this is, I'll never be happy unless it is exactly this way, we are putting limitations on our own lives and our own happiness. Luckily, in this practice, it really doesn't matter, because it's not up to you to intellectualize what it is. It's not up to you to figure out how it's going to happen. You can chant for specifically what you want. You're either going to get that or you're going to get something better. But it is about just making the determination of, I want to be happy. I want to be safe. I want my kids to be safe, those kinds of things. And so she chanted for him to die, because that was the only way that she could see her way out. If she left, he's taking the kids, he's taking the money. If she stays, he's going to continue to beat her to a pulp, and her kids are going to see this. And it was a bad situation for everyone. Anyway, so she's chanting for him to die. And a little while later, I'm not clear about how long, there's a knock at the door, and he gets arrested for things that she had no idea that he was doing. He was, I believe, connected to the mafia or something like that, something horrific, and did all kinds of things that she had no idea about. And they took him away and put him in prison for life. And that was his karma, right? Did she create that in his life? Absolutely not. He was a bad guy. He was a bad dude. But we also know bad dudes get away with stuff all the time, don't they? So, in that situation, it was better than she had hoped, right? I think if he would have dropped dead, she probably would have felt guilty, right? On some level, because that's just human nature. Or at least if you're a good person, even if somebody is terrible, if we cause them to die, we're like, oh my God, that's a terrible feeling. So it was better than that because it was justice. It was something that he deserved, right? I already don't like that guy. I would not rather have a Buick. So it's like those kind of, we would call those miracles, right? We would call those miracles, except for I've seen them happen repeatedly, repeatedly, repeatedly. And I don't believe that it's, I kind of cringe when people talk about manifestation, because I think manifestation can go both ways. I think it's a tool, right? And it can be useful and people can use it to bring good things into their life and everything. But I also think that in a way, there's an element of it that's kind of like a shortcut, and that we can be, without realizing it, borrowing from other things. The only way to actually become happy and to get the things in life that you want is to create better karma. And so you can do that through practicing, and you can do that through being a better person and putting those causes out in the world, being there for other people, taking care of other people, living up to your what it is, like, what do you, even the things that you have to do every day, like, okay, I got to go to the DMV today, go to the grocery store, I have to get my oil changed. Getting done your responsibilities are also, creating good causes, because when we don't do those, we're creating bad causes. And then we all know what that feels like when you didn't do the things that you were supposed to do. I mean, that is just math, right? That's like science. But it's like that with everything. And so putting those good causes out there is really important, but it's also like, okay, we've got all these causes from the past, right? So those are going to manifest, right? When the soil is right and the season is right, those seeds are going to, you've got beautiful plants and you've got weeds, and all of those seeds are in there through our lives. Every single human being is creating both good and bad causes. So that's why where the practice comes in, because it speeds up the process kind of transmuting your karma, but it's also keeps you in the headspace of why we do this and what we're moving forward, keeping you goal oriented, and making sure that you are, you know, making sure that you're staying in the right mind frame, because it's really easy to give up, and it's really easy to wait for a hero to come and save us, and it's really easy to do things that make excuses for ourselves, make excuses from not doing what we're supposed to do, or we'll do something that we know is not really the right thing to do, but we'll tell ourselves it's okay because of this reason or whatever. Like I was talking about the other week, doing the wrong thing for the right reason. We're human beings. We have all kinds of that stuff. And so this is a kind of about, staying on that path. But I mean, to me, the important part is to be all the time working on what causes we are putting out, right? That's just another way of saying being a better human being. And it's our philosophies that keep us focused on what it is that we're doing, and how we put them into practice every day. It's we can have all kinds of beliefs. We can have beliefs about being a bad person or a good person, but what are you doing about it? How are you acting? How are you behaving in your life? We all mess up. And sometimes I think that if, when we mess up, when we're really hard on ourselves, that sometimes it causes us to not do well the next time again. Again, it's about what we're putting out there with our thoughts and our intentions and our feelings, and that the universe is there saying, okay, I hear it. Like you're like basically placing your order, right? It's like Chipotle in a way. Hold on one sec. No, because I think they're eating dinner.
They told me to come by for them now.
No, they said they would come back here.
Did?
Mm-hmm.
Can I call them?
Not yet. In a little bit. It's dinner time, baby.
They told me to.
Sorry. No, they said they would come back after dinner.
At 7 o'clock.
They might still be eating. I'll be done in just a minute, and then we'll figure it out. You don't know if they ate dinner right away. Sorry. Okay, out, please. Life. I always catch like the weirdest parts of the conversation. And I feel like I've missed a lot. Rowdy. I discovered this thing. I don't know if every city has it. Whatever, but I had to get my license renewed. And there's this thing by me it's a third-party service. You just go online and you make an appointment. And I went in, there were literally 2 people in there. And it's not the DMV. It's like an external thing that they have now. And you can go, all the things that you could do at the DMV, you can do there. So I hope they have them everywhere. I know they have them by me. Anyway, so where was I? Yeah, so it helps me in that way because it keeps my perspective. It also makes me feel like I'm doing something. And it always works. It just doesn't always work on my timeline, but it always does end up being better than I could have imagined. And of course, right now, this is a really interesting time for me to be talking about this because life is very hard right now for me. There are things that I'm going through that are worse. It's like I leveled up and then my problems level up, and then I level up and then my problems level up. And I think that is how it works. Unfortunately, because it's exhausting. Luckily we get some reprieve in the meantime. And, I can look at, my own stupidity and the things that I did to, the causes that I made that are now turning into weeds and plants. And, but I don't look at them as punishments. Well, I freaking do. Let me be real with you. Of course I do. I sit here and throw myself a pity party very often and feel like I'm being punished. And that's why I have to remind myself. That's why I have to, part of why I talk to you guys about this stuff is because I have to remind myself of it. And I do believe these things, and I was talking to my friend, Bunny, who has practiced for 50 years, and she has the most incredible stories. Like the stories I just told you are like this big. Bunny's story, her life story, and everything that she's seen and done, you would blow your absolute mind. I want to have her on as a guest one time to talk about it. You couldn't even imagine. But anyway, she still says like that she gets nervous that this time it's not going to work, that this time it's going to be the end of her. Don't we always feel like that is every time we reach an obstacle that is like, we feel it's insurmountable. Like we can look back on the things that we went through and see the strength that we got and see that we're stronger people now. But then something will get thrown in your way and you'll be like, well, then this is it. This is the thing that's going to do me in, and I'm not going to be okay now. And then somehow you are. And then somehow you're not just okay, but you're better. And you can look back on it and say, oh, that's why that needed to happen. Again, the feeling of, okay, this was happiness, and you can even be happy. And then you get it all ripped away from you. And that's misery. That's where I am right now. This is welcome to my home. But I can laugh because I have faith that I can pull myself out of it, even though it is like, this is the biggest mountain I've ever had to climb. And I look back on the other mountains that I've had to climb and they all look like bunny hills, right? But at the time, those were the mountains I had to climb. That is progress. That is advancing as a human being. That is human revolution. So every time we overcome these obstacles, that's the point. So we have to go through a whole series of them. And, you know, some people's lives are going to have a lot more of them than others. And there's going to be a different degree, obviously, of how bad they are, how hard they are. And we can look at other people's lives and say, yeah, but they never, you know, their life is so, I think I have 11 words trying to come out at the same time. Comfy, cushy, cozy, whatever. And mine is all this, you know, there's definitely times I look at my own life and I think to myself, God, I'd like to see any of you guys try this. I'd like to see all of you people around me right now go through what I'm going through and, you know, tell me what it's like. Tell me if you can get through it, because I'm not, you know, it seems crazy, but it's going to change. That is what life is. Life is always change, which isn't great when you're happy, right? Because everything is always in a constant state of flux. That doesn't mean that if you're sitting there happy that you should be worried that things are going to, you know, take a turn tomorrow and you're going to be miserable. But just expect that challenges are going to happen, right? Progress, not perfection. I love that. Because the challenges, and if the challenges stopped coming, honestly, I think we would sit here and we would be very bored and we would be miserable. And we might even turn into bad people. I know people who have it too easy, who end up doing some pretty rotten things just because they're freaking bored. And that's not the way to be. I mean, life has to have a certain amount of drama. Into each life, a little rain must fall. And sometimes a freaking downpour, sometimes a dust storm, a haboob, if you will. And it's not easy, but these are the things that I connect with my friends on. These are the things that I want to talk about. And these are the things I want to help each other through, because when one of us is weak, the rest of us are strong sometimes. Or, you know, a lot of people are weak, and that's what kills me. And I have these conversations over and over again with some of my friends that I've been friends with for years. And we laugh/cringe at the fact that 4 years ago, we were saying, oh my gosh, I can't even believe how bad this is right now. Is like, we've got to be close to the end. And then the next year, oh my gosh, it's so much worse. This has to be, okay, we're at the precipice now. This is the precipice. And then a year later, and it's like every year. And so now it's like, okay, we're starting to learn not to even say it anymore, because it's, who knows when it's going to come. So the point is to just keep on trucking and not be so impatient. And what can we be doing in the meantime, other than getting cramps in our foot? Yeah, some people are missing a spiritual center. That's for sure. Gandhi said, be not bored. Yeah, boredom is not a good thing. There are all kinds of quotes on boredom, or idle minds, things like that. Idle minds and idle hands. But if we can talk about these things with each other and help keep each other motivated and uplifted, we have the tendency to look at what's going on in the world, you know, especially with what happened yesterday. And we turn to each other and we want answers and to know, you know, that it's going to be okay. But mostly we want to connect with one another and feel that it's going to be okay that way. And I just really think that that is our duty right now. That's what I'm seeing, because these years that we've been paying attention, and we have been able to move the needle, but I think it's pretty clear that we have to be doing the work here, because otherwise we're just sitting here wide-eyed, freaked out, watching the world burn, and when we get to the end of this life, wouldn't you so much rather look back and be like, okay, I accomplished a lot in myself, and I overcame my fears, and I overcame some stupidity or some greed or anger issues or whatever. And through that, we do change the world, because every time a person changes, they change their environment, right? So they're going to change their families, they're going to change their neighborhoods and their cities, and outward and outward and outward. I read a quote from something not too long ago about one happy person in a family is the anchor for that family. And I thought that was so interesting. That seems like a lot of weight to carry for the one person, right? But then they're happy. So so then that seems like a good thing. But that one happy person in a family can change their whole family. Excuse me. And so I think that's important to remind ourselves of, because we feel very powerless. We feel like there's nothing we can do. There are massive things that we can do. You never know what you are, who you're helping. I've had, so when I blogged about fertility, this one's actually kind of ironic, because when I was blogging about infertility, I had two different women come to me afterwards and tell me separately that they were in the darkest place of their life when they found my blog, and that I literally saved their life through my blog. And all I was doing was just writing about me. It was basically just like a Dear Diary sob story, whatever. I wasn't really thinking about, I wanted to help other people for sure, but I had no idea that it would be impactful for anybody. I thought, I knew other people were helping, and I knew that they were impactful. So I don't really know. I guess on some level, I guess I hoped that it would be, but I didn't really think about it that way. I just was blogging and thinking, hope this helps. But anyway, the reason I said it's ironic is because both of those women we ended up in a Facebook group together, for infertility. And when I posted the picture of myself in the MAGA hat, they both turned on me and called me a cult member and tagged me in it to make sure that I would see it. And I remember thinking to myself, you once credited me with saving your life, and now I wore a hat, and so I'm evil. And I just thought that was very interesting. But again, we're all human beings bumping up against each other and working out our stuff. But I had two other experiences that didn't go awry, with two different guys that one of them I was friends with, and I didn't even remember having this conversation with him. But I got this message from him on Facebook, and Facebook seems to be the conduit. I get this because I got the message up from Facebook from the other guy too. I get a message from him on Facebook. We reconnected or whatever, and he just said, "I just want you to know that I was going through a really dark time. I don't know if you really remember. I don't know if you remember having that conversation with me, but you had that conversation with me, and I was thinking about killing myself, and I didn't kill myself. And I just wanted to say thank you. I am here now because of you." And I felt like an asshole because I honestly did not remember having that conversation with him. And another time, something very similar happened, only this guy was somebody I wasn't friends with. He dated a friend of mine, and I didn't even remember him. And the only reason why I remembered him when he reached out is because he has kind of a unique name. But same thing. He told me, we were at some party. We lived at the beach, Huntington Beach at the time. We were at our friend's house, or my friend's house, and he was sitting outside, and I guess I walked out when he said he was just about to get up, and they lived down the street. And if you just kept walking down the street, you would get to the beach, you would get to the pier. It was just off of it. And he did not know how to swim. And he was about to stand up and walk and go throw himself off of the pier. This is what he told me later. I had no idea. I literally just walked out like an idiot. I think I was going to my car. I was like, "What the hell are you doing out here?" And I sat there and I talked to him. And he didn't tell me anything about he didn't tell me like, "Oh, I'm thinking about hurting myself." I had no idea. I thought I was just shooting the shit with this guy. But he said I made him laugh, and I said something to the effect of this does sound like me. I said something to the effect of and, he said something, about being down or, he kind of alluded to being a little bit sad, which just goes to show you, you really never know what people are going through, unless they tell you. And, he said something about being upset or whatever it was. And I said, "Listen, I'll cut you a deal. 5 years, let's meet back on this same porch and let's talk about how tacky these people are." And I mean, we were tacky too, but just something as simple as that. You don't know what you're doing when you reach out to people. I didn't say anything profound to him. I didn't even say anything necessarily kind. But in that moment, and he felt the need to reach out and tell me about that years and years and years later. And like I said, I felt terrible because I did not even remember him. But it's an important lesson because we have so much more of an impact on each other than we think we do. And our being is our mission, and our connection with other people is part of our mission. So I really hope to encourage everybody to. I know that we have been isolated, and most of that has not been due to our own wishes. We were isolated from family, friends because of our beliefs. The whole COVID thing happened. Oh, snaps! I'm on YouTube. I forgot about YouTube actually. Oh, I just remembered. Hi, Leyland. Sorry, I got distracted. Where was I? Reaching out to each other. I was gonna make a point. It'll come to me. Oh, yeah. So we've kind of isolated ourselves further into these bubbles that feel nice to us right now because we've found like-minded people, and we found maybe if you're lucky you found your tribe. If you're lucky you found people that you can listen to that make you feel better about the world. And we kind of tend to hunker down into those little bubbles and get comfortable, and then just say, okay, well, all of those people did me dirty because they kicked me out of their lives, so I guess I'll be done with that. But it might be time now to reach back out to those people. I've had some good experiences with that myself, as far as it's always fearful, even if somebody, I don't know, we always think the worst when we think of other people and their perceptions of us, and it gets scary because we don't want to put ourselves out there and then be told to go F ourselves. But I have had some really interesting experiences with that, and people showing grace. And I've also been on the other end of that. I mean, even as much as this week, even as recent as today, to have one of those conversations where it's like, "Hey, I'm sorry that I did this, or whatever in the past, and I hope that there's no animosity or whatever." And hell yeah, I mean, anybody that reaches out to me in that kind of way, there's really nobody on the planet that I wouldn't listen to or forgive. I really don't care. Even if it's somebody in my mind that I have labeled evil, because it's what you're doing. It's not what you did, it's what you're doing. And people can change, and we need to have clemency for people. That's not to say that we forgive people of heinous crimes by any means. But I'm saying, like, in normal life, there are people that have done me so dirty. There have been people that have been pretty rotten, or that I've just, whatever. But there's not a single one of them that I would turn away if they came to me in human to human, to talk to me and say, I don't even need an apology. People put a lot of weight on apologies these days, and it's weird. I have a weird feeling about apologies. Apologies are kind of just words that we say, and some people are so, like, gun ho on them. It's like, "Oh, it's got to be the apology." I wanna see I don't care if somebody never says they're sorry to me. If they turn themselves around and they act decently, that's enough. And at the same time, if somebody said that they were sorry to me, but then they continue to do the thing that they were sorry for, then that means nothing. So to me, apologies are just words, and I might be alone in that. I know a lot of people, apologies are kind of everything, but I don't know. I just don't feel that way. Just repentance in some form. Just be decent, you know? I don't even need repentance. I don't need somebody to throw themselves at my feet and, go on and on about all of the awful things that they did to me and why they, deserve 20 lashings. Just to come back and say, "Hey, you know, what I did was not right, and I don't wanna do that anymore." Freaking awesome. That's awesome. Now, that's not to say that I'm gonna be best friends with them. Uh One of my things I'm working on is trust. I really need to work on my trust. I really need to work on my trust. I am too trusting. Um, that is one of the things I'm here to transmute, but it's an obstacle, and I'm getting there because it feels very cold to not trust people. But this world is just not the place for it. Sparky, that freaking gif. Oh my God. I forgive you for stealing my box of 64 crayons. Can we be friends again? No, because you took the periwinkle and that was my favorite one. You chewed on it. I don't know. I hope I made any sense. I'm just trying to find my way, you guys. I don't know. I don't know. I feel called to do things and then I chicken out. I feel like I am just not feeling super steady, but I just want you to be able to, like, walk with me on this path of where there's cliffs on both sides. It's mostly because I just wanna hold on to you for dear life. No, I don't know. This is what I want to do. I want to have these conversations. It's all I feel called to do. And I am constantly second guessing myself and feeling very exposed. Um, but that's my obstacle. And it's not about me, and I have to constantly remind myself that, um, you know, I remember it kind of blew my mind one time when somebody told me that shyness was, self somebody being self-centered. I was like, "That seems harsh," because shy people, they're so sweet. They're so, shy. But it's really kinda true. When you're shy, it's because you're so certain that everybody's so hyper focused on you. But most people aren't thinking about you. They're thinking about themselves, how they're coming across, what they look like. They're thinking about what they had for breakfast, where they want to go, who they want to call, who they got to call back, and whatever, a million things. Um, but it's hard not to get in your head. I am not shy. I know that. It's not shyness that I'm feeling right now. It's vulnerability. It is fear, which is the killer. Yes. As the saying goes, trust your neighbor, tie up your camel. 100%. Oh, that's interesting. Trust is for family and kids. I trust with time, and broken trust is hard to fix. Yeah, well, I mean, some people can't even trust their family or their kids, I guess. um, but I don't know. I think trust is I can, I can't even trust myself sometimes. I feel like there are times in my life that I'm like, almost like an out of body experience where I'm watching myself like, "Kate, don't do that. You know better. Like, don't do it. Don't say the thing. Don't cause the fight. Don't be a bitch. Don't whatever. Don't do that. You know better." And I'm like, there's that part of me that's in the sunken place, I guess, like screaming, saying, "Don't do that." And so then, I do the thing, I create the cause, it creates the problem, and then I look back on it and I'm like, I can't even trust myself. Like, I get better, right? I guess I'm getting better at it. But yeah, what can we trust? Trust is a weird thing. And once it's broken, and if it's been broken in your life repeatedly, that's one of the saddest state of affairs because um we're I don't know. Are we supposed to trust people? Are we supposed to trust each other? I guess we're supposed to, like you said, trust your neighbor, but tie up your camel. Protect yourself. But trust? I don't know. That is the place I suffer with that. I suffer like not knowing where to strike that balance. And it's a weird world right now because it's not normal circumstances. We literally have people who are, most of my much of my human interaction comes from online. A lot of my friends, some of my best friends, like I only have them online. Um, Everybody I come into contact with throughout the course of a day is online. And you never know who's on the other end of stuff. And we do have people, I feel like, that are try to infiltrate and cause disruption and harm us. That sounds incredibly paranoid. I'm just me. And but it's so true. And so people will cozy up to you and you never really know what their intentions are. And you guys know, I'm an open book. So it's hard for me to keep my mouth shut, I guess. And I always tell myself like, well, if I'm not saying anything that I wouldn't say publicly, but I pretty much say everything publicly. I don't know, I guess you just have to feel like everything is on the other people and protect yourself as well as you can. Becky Luho, thank you. You help more people than you know. You simply freestyle streaming and providing a space for us all has helped me through some isolated and lonely times over the years. Much love to you, Kate. I love you, Becky Lou. I hope it's helpful. I don't know. Um it's about that, it's just about hanging out. Like, yeah, I'm the one sitting here chatting or running my mouth, but like I remember that the first time around with my first YouTube channel, I thought nobody cared. And it wasn't about me. It was like, well, but this is where we go and hang out. And like, you're not doing your chat, so we don't have that chat open. It really is a whole different thing with these, first YouTube chats and Rumble and Pilled, these communities that form and interacting with each other and getting to know each other, even if it's just an avatar, and feeling like it's this place you can call home. Sorry, that was weird. And every other, like so many different platforms are full of ugliness. And so there aren't a lot of places that, I mean, like who wants to go to a chat board? Like who knows what you're going to scroll past on a chat board, because there are people that are intentionally, it just seems like there are less people that come and bother to come into these chats to just be disruptive. And so that's really nice. T-Skip, ain't that the truth? Bahuvrihi. My bout with materialism started with the mega box of crayons and ended with a Porsche. Well, I hope that your midlife crisis is going very well. I used to worry if people cared, but I discovered that most people are just guarded because they got abused for no reason. Yeah, there's lots of, yeah. Oh, now I'm seeing your other messages. Trust comes with history. I trust my sister since I helped raise her. There are a lot of predators and psychopaths online. The important thing is to not be afraid and be kind. Well, sometimes those psychopaths can use your kindness against you. And I've had my kindness weaponized against me before. And that sounds very strange to say out loud. But it's hard to imagine, I'm sure, but I have. And it's sad that we live in that kind of world. It's sad that we live in a world where, if we see a homeless person holding up a sign that says, please help, our first instinct is they're a con artist or, they're a drug addict or because a lot of them are, that's what's unfortunate. It's so sick that there are people who take advantage of those things. And, my sister was a cop in LA. And so she would tell me about these people who would they would stand and panhandle on the street and, appear homeless and literally go and under the bridge where their BMW was parked and drive away. So because bad people take advantage of those situations, because look at charity. Most charities are completely corrupt. You don't even want to give your money to charity. I roll my eyes. Who doesn't want to do nice things for good people or people in general? Who doesn't want to take care of their fellow man? But it's just not set up that way. There's so much where people take advantage of that. Trust your instincts and situational awareness will save your life. I don't know about my instincts. I have good instincts in some ways, but apparently not in others. Uh, uh, um, and sometimes your instincts can be right, but people change. There's that, and then it's too late. What happens if you get really close to somebody and then they change? So I don't know. But I want to talk about the CBD real fast. Let me put my little banner up. I've been getting a lot of ink. That's what I should do. I should start sharing some of the testimonies with you guys of what I'm hearing of people ordering the CBD because man, it's so awesome. But if you are interested at all in taking CBD, if you've taken a CBD product in the past and we're just kind of like meh about it, or even if you take one that you really like, I'm telling you, this is the one. This is the holy grail of CBD. It is incredible for all kinds of things, but especially pain and inflammation, anxiety, healing, because it's made with moringa. But go to cbdandmore.com/Kate. And then the coupon code is Kate15 and that will give you 15% off. But I'm really, really, really happy about, I knew I had my whole everything stood behind this product and I was already telling a bunch of people about it. So when he allowed me to do this and have it be a sponsor on the show, it was just awesome. But it's really cool to see the people, see real life people come back and be like, man, it's really doing. And it hasn't been that long. It's not like it takes 4 months to build up in the system before you can get results. So it's really, really cool to see the quick turnaround. And then also I wanted to share my email address, tkaads1@gmail.com. If you want to sponsor and, have me run ads on this, or if you just have a question, comment, whatever, something you want me to cover, that's the email address that I created for this new project. I know it's very fancy because it's Gmail. It's highly exclusive. That's why I had to put a 1 in there. It does taste good. It's kind of pepperminty. But lightly pepperminty. Peppermint is really good for your stomach too. You use CBD and it's great with chronic pain. Yeah, I had chronic back pain always. In fact, if you watch the first year for like, well, actually, I don't know. I don't know how many of the like first year videos exist from my YouTube channel, but my YouTube channel was like all me like move like shifting in my seat like this because my back always hurts. So anyway, that CBD really helped me with that, and have not had chronic back pain ever since. Haven't had chronic pain in any way since. I still have cramps, but I haven't tried it topically. And I know you can do it topically. I haven't tried that, so I'm gonna do that next time. I'll keep you guys posted. Because I know that, it can, it absorbs into the skin and stuff like that. And I've had other products that were CBD things that you kind of like can put on muscle aches and things like that. Curiously mild mint. Yeah. Okay, so next week for this, I think I'm going to go over the life of Shakyamuni because it's a really interesting story. And, whatever. We're just here to talk about whatever, just kind of like the other show, but this one's just going to be more focused on the philosophy portion of it. And I'm just like hell bent to find something that I can extract that will help, because I can't stand what I'm seeing in the world, in the community, and in people in general. And there's just such an energy when I do these shows that is so beautiful, and people are supportive of each other, and they always give amazing comments, and I just want to keep that going. So then in 2 weeks, we'll have the book club after this for The Alchemist. Read the book, guys. I mean, when we talk about it, you're going to be jealous. You're going to be jealous that you didn't. My sister is opening her nonprofit mother house this fall. I want to email you about that. I'm so proud of her and her husband. They will be helping women through unexpected pregnancy. Yes, Becky Lou. Email me about that. I want to hear about that. That's wonderful. Kate, you need to study the ways of a narcissist. Not everyone is a narcissist, but almost everyone has character defects like a narcissist. If you don't know someone's character defects, I think a second part is coming. I have studied narcissism a little bit. I've also experienced it. If you don't know that person, someone's character defects, you don't know that person. Yeah, I guess that's true. We all have them, don't we? But I feel like there was something else that I was gonna. Oh, no, I'm gonna talk about that tomorrow. All right, you guys. Well, I have a bunch of 8 and 9-year-olds in my living room right now. I can hear them. Tomorrow night at sometime, I think 7 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 Eastern, I think. I'll do my Kate Awakening show, and I think I'm gonna have a friend with me tomorrow to make it a little bit more interesting and and fun. So please join in for that. Oh, my Substack. Let me put my Substack link if I can find it. I'll post it later. But oh wait, there we go. Nope, that's not it. There it is. I think this is it. I still am not totally familiar with Substack, so hopefully that works. Put it in here. But I've got some other articles kind of coming down the chamber. It's kind of like, I'm like this right now, feelings and things I'm going through. So like I'll sit there and I'm trying to be peppy and happy or whatever. And then I kind of tank, and then I have to kind of leave that for a little bit, and then I'll come back to it later. And those peppy ones I haven't been back to in a few days. So things are coming out in that. That's actually the best way to support me, is my Substack. And I have a lot of really cool plans for that Substack, and some other kind of side projects that I'm doing that are fun and I think are going to be really interesting, and I hope helpful. I hope just like helping to steer in this direction that I clearly feel very passionate about because I don't shut up about it. But anyway, I love you guys. And here's the outro. I'll see you guys hopefully tomorrow on the Kate Awakening show, right here on all of the platforms. Oh wait, let me get out of YouTube. Remove by YouTube. Hasta la bye bye.